everybody. Welcome to Trading the Close. Big day today. Nvidia earnings in just a little while in the after hours. We also have Snowflake reporting. We'll talk about that one as well. Today, some really interesting action, right? Not only did we see copper starting to collapse, oil possibly breaking down below its bear flag, but there are a lot of things going on. So let's not delay here. We're going to get right into the charts in a second. First and foremost, the Dow is down 235 points. NASDAQ down 55 points. The S&P down 18 points. Oil, as we can see right here, down about 86 cents, and for some reason it's not loading down there, the other ones, but that's okay. Bitcoin, last I checked, was trading just under 70,000 on the day. So we got lots of good stuff going on here, folks. You can see the heat map overall. It's kind of a mostly red heat map, which tells us that generally the markets are lower, as we know. And again, you can see Microsoft basically flat on the day, Google down about 1%, Apple down 0.66%, and Nvidia right down here, this box right here, down about 0.85%. Okay, follow me over to the big board, guys. Let's get this going because we want to talk some action before these big earnings. All right, so this is the S&P intraday. The S&P was kind of fluttering along, and then we got the big sell-off. This sell-off right here was a result of the Fed minutes today. Now, the Fed minutes were interesting. I think everyone kind of expected kind of a dovish-ish Fed, hawkish, but, even when the Fed tries to be hawkish, they come across as like, oh, well, we'll still cut rates, so no big deal. But today was interesting because we heard that there was a disagreement in the Fed over reduction of their balance sheet. And when I hear that, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, all right, good. I want them to not keep a balance sheet that every time we have a crisis goes up by, 100%. Because if you look at where the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve was prior to the first crisis in 08-09, it was under $1 trillion. Then it ballooned to like $3 trillion. They reduced it to 2.5. Then it went to $9 trillion during COVID, and now it's back to like 7.5. And it seems like every bullish period where things are fine, they reduce it by 10 or 15%, and then they double it the next one. And it's like, dude, things are good right now. If you can get rid of your balance sheet, reduce it. Because remember, essentially that is U.S. debt. That is U.S. debt. It's the bank, it's the Federal Reserve. People don't look at it as national debt, but it really is. Eventually that gets monetized, folks, and that means you and I, everyone out there, feels the pain of that. So again, in any case, markets didn't like that, right? Oh my goodness, the Fed may want to continue to run off some of the balance sheet. They probably won't, to be honest. But just the mere fact that you saw that disagreement in the Fed from the minutes today, it ultimately does kickstart a little bit of selling. Now, again, look at what happened. We had the sell, and then we had a lot of choppy action. This is where the bulls and the bears are fighting. The bulls and the bears are fighting because not only from the Fed minutes, but they're all situating for the Nvidia earnings after the bell. Okay, so that's what we have on the S&P 500 chart here. If we flip over to Nvidia, Nvidia is down slightly on the day. If I go to the intraday chart, you can see that again, and this is with some after hours here. This is from yesterday after hours, but essentially we had this nice dip, sideways bear flag. Notice the pattern, right, guys? I want you guys to learn with me, all right? There's your pattern, right? That's a classic bear flag. You led here, but now you're seeing kind of some short covering going into earnings. Now, what does Gareth think the earnings are going to be? I honestly have no clue. I think they're going to beat by a mile. The question is the price of the stock already factoring in the mile above beat? What are their margins? You guys know margins for me is going to be key for this report, and we'll go over again what the expectations are. But in general, I would say I think last quarter was about 77%, give or take. I think they have to come in at 73 plus margins for people to be okay with it. If it somehow comes in below 70, I think that's a sell signal even if they blow earnings estimates away. Okay, so that's Nvidia. I'm going to come back to that obviously because we have the earnings coming out a little bit later. I did want to touch on First Solar today. First Solar having a big move up. Take a look at this long-term trend line on First Solar that it hit today. So you did run into a big level of resistance. 2013 highs right here. We extended out to the 2022 high right here, or 2023 high, and today we are piercing that level. So there should be some resistance here on First Solar. This is how warped the markets are right now, and how, in my opinion, a lot of these analysts, like they really kind of do pump and dumps in a way. And you might say, well, how the heck do they do that? Well, basically what caused this stock to be up, massively on the day, and this is the weekly 27%. So for the week, it's up 27%. But if we flip over to the daily chart, I want to kind of zoom in on this, and let's bring that up for you guys here. Let me get rid of these lines. But basically, if we look at this, look at the size of that candle today. That's just today. It's up 18.71%. And really what the analyst said was, oh, well, First Solar is really an AI play because, you know, energy needs are going to be so great that they're going to, you know, people are going to have to get solar. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess. And, you know, what the heck? Denny's is probably an AI play because everyone working on AI's got to eat, right? I mean, it's like okay, I mean, I get where they're going with that, but to see an 18, 19% move and for the week 27% move, it's a little bit of a stretch considering a slowing economy is likely going to take sales off the table for solar. But that's what the narrative is for the day. So who am I to argue with it? Price is king, and price says up. I just think we're into resistance up here around 251 on the day, and looks like markets have just closed. Okay, speaking of markets closing, I want to look at Snowflake. Snowflake, let's see if they've reported yet. Nope, nothing out yet on Snowflake. They report after the bell here. I do want to touch base quickly on Williams-Sonoma. This is one I covered in the game plan today. Williams-Sonoma was opening higher on earnings, and I talked about this, in fact, in the game plan this morning, and I said, guys, watch out. This one's at all-time highs, up like 50% on the year. It's opening higher on earnings, and I've seen so many companies come out with good earnings, and then the stock opens up and they sell straight down. And that's, look at the size. This is what we call an epic engulfing candle. Epic engulfing candle in technical analysis. Maybe not with the word epic, but I'm just throwing that in. But the point being is that essentially what you have here, you have smaller money bidding it up because the earnings beat and the revenue beat and their numbers were good, and then institutions come in and just dump in because they know this thing's at all-time highs. Like, let me zoom out on this, and I just want to show you. So essentially, if we just go back to even a year ago, Williams-Sonoma was at $113. Today at the highs, $350. Does that seem normal for a stock that is a luxury, kind of a luxury household goods name? I mean, those are gains like Nvidia. I mean, all right, you can make sense of Nvidia with AI, not Williams-Sonoma. So ultimately, that's selling. I mean, look at the size again of that engulf right there. That is massive, and it did come down throughout the day. So just remember that. We're seeing more and more of these stocks that do have good earnings. They open higher, and then the selling just comes in and crushes them to the downside. And that's institutional selling. Let's be clear on that. That's not mom and pop saying, oh, let me do the metrics here. I think the economy's slowing down. Let me take profits. No, that's institutional money jumping ship into retail buyers. Okay. Let's go back to Snowflake here, guys. Snowflake still, I'm not getting any data here in the after hours that earnings are out, so we'll keep an eye on that. Looks like it's upticking a little bit in the after hours, but only about $1. Jumping back to Nvidia here, 10-minute chart. It's upticking on the 10 minutes, basically back to the flat line for the day, but earnings again will not be out for another, looks like about 16 minutes. But I'm going to stay right here and we're going to keep going through charts. My head trader Ben's going to join me in just a minute as well, and he's going to jump in and we're going to go over some charts together. All right, and there's even Lawton over here. Lawton, what's going on, buddy? All right, so let me see what else we want to cover here. So Apple today saw a little bit of a sell-off. Just a minor downtick on Apple. I do want to cover some of the commodities today. Copper, I talked about this double top on copper here. Major double top. Copper price is up 40% in basically a few months. That now had a big drop today. Copper was down over 5%. That's a big fall. If you're in my commodities service, Smart Money Commodities, we were short Southern Copper, short COPX, COPX, and those both did very, very well today. So copper to the downside. Gold today, off of the Fed minutes. Nice drop on gold. Never got above the topping tail high. Big reversal candle right here. The key is going to be this upsloping trend line. If gold's going to maintain its bullish bias, it needs to hold above basically 2350. Silver today, and we'll go over Bitcoin. Don't worry, guys. Don't you worry about that. All right, let's take a look at silver. Nice drop here. Now, what do we know about the $30 level? It's a confirmed support, so if it comes back into 30, that is your big level of support. We have to see if it holds. I would expect it to, but nonetheless, we'll be watching 30. I still think it does come back into 30. All right, next up, let's take quickly a look at Bitcoin real quick as we get into the action here, and then we'll bring Ben on to give us some insights. Here's your channel on Bitcoin. You still are maintaining above this. That's bullish. As long as price stays above the channel and holds, granted it hasn't confirmed yet, but it is still above, that is bullish on Bitcoin. And lastly, quickly, we'll just go into Ethereum. I know you guys are interested because of the ETF potential news here. Ethereum's doing okay. It's still struggling right around this pivot top. You can see it pierced, came back in today, but it is holding after that big breakout of this wedge pattern right here. So we'll watch and see how that is going. All right, Ben, you want to come on and we'll see what we got. Oh, look at Snowflake, Ben. What do you think, buddy?
It looks like it's going up.
Very perceptive. I love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, I'll be here all day.
Nice, nice, awesome. Oh man, you took my gun away from me?
I did.
Just Nerf guns, guys. Don't worry, don't worry. All right. In any case, we have some fun here, right? So, oh man, you give me the busted gun again.
Snowflake after hours. Yeah, let's see what the different levels are.
All right, so let's look over here. So it's trading around 180. Am I correct on that?
It looks like 182 on your charts. So the first level that I would have on it would be like 191. I mean, if it gets up to about 191, you know, that's the first level of major resistance, kind of in the gap window. I mean, Snowflake,
Can you do me a favor? Can you run a fib from that high here down to the lows, from here down to here?
Absolutely.
And I'm just curious. And guys, what you're watching now is real-time analysis. We're doing this for potential trading opportunities. And so what we're looking for is a confluence of events, of levels, essentially.
Look at that.
Oh, dude. 50% fib retrace right here, guys. So that's what we like to see, is when you have a gap window and the 50% line up, that gives us an additional level of potential trading factors.
That's right, absolutely.
And so again, it doesn't mean it's a winning trade. It means that the probabilities increase in our favor if we were to short this level here. And it looks like it's still backing off a little bit, back to about $180. So it still has to go up more, but this could be a level we watch tomorrow in the live trading room.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you check VFC? VFC was a beaten down one in the on the daily chart. I'm curious about this one here. Let's see what the after hours are doing on that. Oh, a little bit of a dip.
Yeah, not much going on.
Not much though. Yeah, if you go to the daily on this one, you can see how beaten down this has been. If you zoom out a little bit, you can see, man, this thing has been beaten down. So it was one I was keeping an eye on just because the beaten down stocks, sometimes if they can surprise, they can get rips. But in this case, it doesn't look like we're seeing much of a rip on that front. But yeah, isn't that an amazing chart? It's all, look at this. Yeah, this is a great level. I love that, Ben. I mean, talk about retracing to the scene of the crime down here. All of this sideways chop here, and even here, then it took off, and now it's coming back. So we're basically looking for $9 on this would be a good level on VFC.
Pierce to $9 would be great.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, let's check in on NVIDIA. I don't think earnings are out yet, but we will continue to keep you guys in the loop here. Snowflake's pulling back a little bit here. Let me just see if there were any other earnings of interest here that I'm wanting to take note of.
So the last time we did earnings on NVIDIA, I remember we were sitting here and we were like, yeah, and nothing happened, right? It wasn't for like 20 minutes after that we actually got the earnings and the volatility. So who knows if that's going to happen, if it's going to be right at 420 or what, but.
Yeah, and I think that's the key here. And we'll keep an eye on Snowflake here. Just it is coming back in, so it doesn't look like it'll hit our level here in the after hours. But I still remember initially also it didn't fall initially.
Oh yeah, it dropped like $100.
Then it ripped, right? Didn't it rip after that?
Yeah, to all-time highs.
Incredible.
It was quite incredible.
So let's look at what should we look at, Ben? What did we trade today?
We didn't trade anything today in the live day trading. It was a slow day, and that's all right because we stayed away from the things that would have caused us a lot of pain.
And I think, by the way, that's a great point. Is that there are certain days where you're going to get 5-6 trades. There are, on average, probably 2 trades a day for day traders, like good quality, high reward, low risk trades. And then there are days where you have to know when to sit on your hands. It's the traders that don't sit on their hands, that feel like they got to be in the action, that end up getting chopped up by the bots. And the bots, basically algorithmic bots that trade back and forth, and they're just looking for suckers that really don't have a thesis, there's no level there, and they're just kind of getting whipped out, and they just want to take your money. So you always want to remember that as a trader. ADI, oh, look at this channel.
Yeah, I was just noticing that because this was one of the stocks that we were looking at earlier today. And I thought about getting into it with the live day trading room. However, it just didn't do it didn't give me a reversal signal. So then I was playing around with it and thinking, okay, so it's at all-time highs. What kind of a level do I have? And so then I came up with this parallel channel. So you've got this pivot here, this pivot here, and then you draw this nice parallel so it connects here. And so right here at the 240 level, had it hit this level during the trading day, probably around 11 or 12, we could have been able to short this. However, as it goes longer into the day, it gets really difficult to short because, man, you can get the volatility sucked out of it. You get all the sellers who are wanting to get out of it in the morning, and then just buyers just float this thing up. Like as you can see, it was at 220, now it's at 240, and just a slow grind all day long. So it was a tough one to get in.
Amazing. I want to just jump over here, guys. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys is the bear flag I've talked about on oil is looking like it's starting to play out here. So as we wait for NVIDIA earnings, let's do some other analysis. See this drop here, and then look at that flag, and look, oil's starting to go down. And so this is just, again, it's all about probabilities where it doesn't guarantee you're going to be right, but if you see a bear flag like that, it starts to put the odds probably around 70% success, which is pretty solid. If you can win 7 out of 10 times, I think you're doing pretty well. And it looks like the bear flag is starting to decline. Target on this should be around $71 to $68 when all is said and done. And we're at 77 right now, so that's another $7-8 to the downside potentially on that. And then we got to touch on natural gas because holy cow, talk about a combustible commodity here, just going to the moon. Ben, I know you've had some good natural gas, right? Just kidding, bro.
That's right.
But wait, so here, just jumping back here. So we did pierce the even number of $3.
That's right, we did.
So that's impressive. But at the same time, we filled a major gap. There was a gap fill here. Honestly, I'm still short on this via KOLD being long or UNG being short. But again, such an impressive move to the upside. What do you have over there?
Well, it's since the lows in February, it's up 85%. I mean, that is a huge move for natural gas. It is called the Widowmaker, so it can chop you out, right? One thing that I will notice, I like to notice, is that there was this parallel channel, I mean, not this parallel channel, but this upsloping trend line. So as long as it stayed above this level, you can see that it was really, really bullish. But the problem was you just didn't know when that was going to occur, right? Because you could have seen it right here and said, okay, so this is going to go all the way up, back up to, you know, $10 or whatever. But then you had this pullback.
Yeah, one of the things I love showing people too is this type of pattern is a very bullish pattern where you have this upsloping trend line and kind of like this flat top right here. It's a type of wedge that is usually the flat top. So if you have a wedge like this, right, and we have an upsloping and prices going like this, I would say if you're at the lows of charts like this has a very high percentage of having a breakout here, and that's exactly what it did. And look at the power of that too. I mean, that was like a rocket ship right there. So just remember that pattern, guys. Remember, the key is if this is at the high of the chart, the probabilities are not as good. This was at the low, and the probabilities were very, very positive. I think what happens here is you can start to get the shorts to get nervous, and that's where you get the short squeeze on natural gas.
Oh yeah, especially as beaten down as this thing has been, right?
That's right.
I mean, if we zoom out on this chart, I mean, look at natural gas. I mean, shoot, just back
By the way, look at that MA pattern on that thing too.
Oh, that is nice.
So guys, one of the things that we've gone over before is see that pattern. That's an M, and then you get the A, and then the bigger drop. That's a classic bearish pattern. An MA, you get the double top with a higher high on the second part of the M, just like a WV. You get the, again, just a lower low here, and then you get the push and then the pullback of the V, and usually that's a bullish move like that. But yeah, some great TA right there, guys, to understand those price action patterns. All right, let's keep an eye.
So we are close, right?
We are getting close. So far,
okay,
nothing.
So we got 5 minutes left till the earnings report.
Assuming they release on time, right?
Yeah, unlike last time.
Yeah. So what are you thinking, man? Let's talk some predictions here. What do we think?
All right, so let me go to the Nvidia chart, and I'll
By the
tell
way,
you.
predictions mean nothing when it comes to earnings. I mean, maybe you can get a slight edge on charts, but let's be fair. It's like, you know, it could be up $50 to $100. By the way, the options market was signaling a 9% move is
to the
possible.
upside.
Was it? But was that to the up? I thought it was just 9% either direction.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, implied volatility. But I will say this: one thing that I thought was interesting is that there's a predominant amount of calls at the 1,000 level, and what makes me kind of think, like, I'm like, all right, well, do we think that the institutions want to pay out all those people that have the calls? So does it go above 1,000? Probably not, but
that's what we thought last time.
That's true. NVIDIA is a world of its own. It's a whole different world there.
So you've got this price action, right? So you do have this kind of a bullish pattern.
You do, yeah.
Right here. Well, it's bearish, bullish, but I would say this is more bullish than bearish. So could it go up to $1,000 plus? 100%, absolutely. One thing is still intact, though, is you've got this third hit of this trend line, and it hasn't been negated officially yet. And so I still think that it's very, very bearish, because usually the third hit of a trend line, especially when you've got double top coming up here, I mean, you've got to, excuse me, bearish. You've got to think that it's going to do at least some sort of a correction, right? So my downside target, look at this gap fill. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my charts real quick. It could very easily flush out to this gap fill right here.
What's the gap fill price? What we got
I have it right at 858. Okay, so here is the gap fill on Nvidia. I don't know how big of a move that would be, but for Nvidia, I mean, this thing is wild and whippy. If you notice, that's about a 10% drop in Nvidia. So that could happen like right away.
Yeah, so just jumping back here, guys, and I'm just kind of keeping track of some numbers on my phone as well, as I got to be in the loop kind of for this real-time live action. But this is something here. So you basically have a scenario where, like Ben's saying, I mean, it could go either way, but if it drops, you have that. What was your 858 was your level? It's interesting because that's also this trend line right here, right? So you have this upsloping line from here to here, and then we also have the gap fill right there. So as a technician, you'd say, okay, well, if it does dump, number one, that would be almost a $100 move, but as a technician, you might be looking to buy that and say, all right, a bounce. And again, I strongly encourage that, these are day tradable plays. And then you same thing, I'm using a flat top up here, but we still have this double top. The question is, this is that same triangle pattern that we were just talking about on natural gas, right? Which was bullish. But this one's at the high of the chart, so the probabilities are much more 50-50. So remember, if that pattern is at the lows of the charts like this, 70% chance of upside. At the high end, it's really 50-50, right? So it just because it's at the high end, it's more overbought. There's more chance that it can't meet the expectations. And it's just, again, 50-50 means it could go either way. And I will gladly say I have no clue about this.
Well, so it's interesting because I did a fib level from the lows here to the top here, and that 858 level is right at the 50% retrace.
That's cool.
So, I mean,
that's a lot of confluence.
That's a lot of confluence, right? I don't know. It's still a crapshoot. It's still,
I'm putting out an order at 858. So
858 to go long.
Yeah, but just small here.
Okay.
Just in case. Just in case it dumps here. All right. By the way, folks, don't do this at home. This is
What's your possible shorting level? If it hits a specific target to the upside, where would you put a sell order?
That's a good question.
I mean, would you go?
I wouldn't do it at double top. I think
double top?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't because it's too explosive of a move. You'd probably have to are there any uptrending? And by the way, we're 1 minute away, so we're going to keep this on our radar here, guys. But man, all right, here's one. If we take the high from 2021 and we extend it out, oh man, looks like 1,027. We'll call it 1,030.
1,030.
1,030. So we got our downside level, we got our upside level. Whew. All right. Oh man, we got 30 seconds according to my clock here. If this is right, let's keep it on the radar, folks.
All right, here we go.
Oh my God.
That's a big spread.
That is a big spread, but again, that's kind of right in the zone of 9%, right? In each direction. It seems like it at least.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, guys. Assuming it's at 420, which is what I was seeing, we should be out here shortly. And remember, the first move sometimes can be wrong, right, Ben? We've seen that. Watch, it'll be a big nothing burger and probably.
That's the way it's been,
dude.
I mean,
hold on. I feel much more comfortable.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Here we go, 925. All right, initially 923, 921, 20. Whoa. Now, let's see if it rips the other way now. 928, 930.
Oh, 934, 936.
Oh, my God. Oh, no, here it goes. It's the first move, man. It's crazy. The first move, because the algos read this stuff. Holy cow. Here we go. All right, what was my level? 1030. 1030 if it gets there. Wow. Look at this.
That doesn't necessarily mean that this is the right move either, right?
First, yes. Probabilities are increasing, though. The second move, the odds of it being the right move are more. And holy cow, here we go.
It's wanting that $1,000 level.
So this went down to like 915, and now it's at 990. Wow. This is crazy, guys.
It beat expectations, that's for sure.
Oh, here comes 1,000. All right, we're only $30 away from my shortable level.
Oh,
that's
all right.
It's gonna go. They're gonna pierce 1,000.
It has to pierce
1,000. It just it doesn't go that close and not pierce it at some point. Crazy. Wow. This is fun. I hope you guys are enjoying. We don't do these lives very often, but for big events like the Fed decision and the earnings.
For Nvidia, at least.
For Nvidia, yeah. For Nvidia, this is key. So, again, it's going to be interesting. What would be really fascinating, so remember, the implied volatility, for those of you that may not know what implied volatility is, it's basically the premiums being charged on options that tell you how much it needs to move for people to make money. And so there was 9%, right, going into earnings. So essentially anything less than 9%, most of the options will basically lose. And it'll be really interesting. Imagine if by tomorrow we're trading like 960 to 950, like basically unchanged. I don't know, just a weird idea here. But right now it's holding close to the highs. They must have blown away earnings. I don't have the numbers just yet. I can try to bring them up real quick here on this. I use this website sometimes.
Oh, we do have a 1-minute topping tail on Nvidia.
Oh boy, we're trading the 1 minute now.
Here we go.
Oh my goodness. Oh, of course this website's down because everyone's on it. All right,
oh yeah, everybody wants to know.
Everyone's on it.
Inquiring minds,
all right,
man.
It is what it is, right? So again, listen. So as of now, what is it, a $30 to $40 move? So it's not huge. It's about 5%. Doesn't mean it's not going to go higher. Obviously, you know, initially this move is pretty impressive to the upside. I think the most impressive thing about this is that it got down to here. Now, again, if it had only gone to 858, I would have been long for that move.
That's right. You would have been totally long for that move.
Oh, goodness. All right, so that's the Nvidia earnings report. I have a feeling it's going to be more volatile in the after hours. Do you have anything else, Ben? What are we thinking here, man?
No, this has been great. I think it's gonna go up to 1,000.
Yeah.
Possibly even higher.
Even higher. So 1030 is a level. I mean, again, that would be a level, that extension trend line there.
That's right.
We'll see if it goes there. But either way, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Please comment below. Let us know. Do you like these? Do you want more of these? I have fun doing them, man. Do you have fun?
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Awesome, guys. Have a good one as always. Thank you. Take care.